Coverage of today's racing on STV live from glorious Goodwood starts in half an hour. First, earlier than usual, the lunchtime news at 1 o'clock.
Perfection in the pool for Team GB as they secure both gold and silver in the 200-metre freestyle.
Can they be gold and silver? Yes, Tom Dean is Olympic champion.
A great achievement by any standards by Tom Dean and Duncan Scott, but especially so for Tom, who contracted COVID twice in the last year.
I'm thinking, how am I going to be able to recover from this in time to get a solid block of work under my belt before we start tapering for Olympic trials? My coach kept me grounded and kind of just built me slowly back up to where I am now.
Celebrations for the family back home. Tom's mum is with us live. Also this lunchtime, tags on release for those found guilty of burglary, but the Police Federation called the government's new crime plan unworkable. Why some scientists are optimistic about the latest COVID figures, but the Prime Minister urges caution. And the surprise of Tokyo. What's behind the British success in Taekwondo?
This is the ITV Lunchtime News with Chris Shipp.
Hello, good afternoon. It's been a day of success in the face of some adversity for Team GB at the Tokyo Olympics. First, Georgia Taylor-Brown, who almost missed the Games with a leg injury, picked up a silver. That's despite cycling on a puncture. And then Tom Dean went one better in the 200 metres freestyle to win gold. Right behind him was teammate Duncan Scott to make it a first and second podium finish for Britain. And Dean was twice in the last year struck down with COVID. Team GB added 3 more medals to their growing collection with the potential of more to come. Our first report is from Sally Bidoff.
Another winning day for Team GB with huge success in the pool. Not 1, but 2 medals in the men's 200-metre freestyle.
Can they be gold and silver? Yes, Tom Dean is Olympic champion.
21-year-old Tom Dean clinching Britain's 4th gold of the Olympics, just 0.04 seconds ahead of teammate Duncan Scott. A remarkable achievement made all the more impressive, given the champion has fought COVID twice.
I think I was one of the first athletes in any British Olympic sport to contract COVID twice in such a short space of time. So, thank you. So there are quite a few question marks around it. And it was, I'm thinking, how am I going to be able to recover from this in time to get a solid block of work under my belt before we start tapering for Olympic trials?
COVID may have cast a shadow over his Tokyo training, but even the mask wasn't going to stop him singing the national anthem. And his joy matched only by supporters at home in Maidenhead, who got up very early to see him win. Across the city, another British success story. Georgia Taylor-Brown winning silver in the triathlon.
Taylor-Brown is riding with a flat back tyre.
Leading the pack all the way until a puncture caused big problems on the bike leg.
I did panic. I thought, brilliant, that's the whole race. I've been right at the front and I've lost it in the final few K on the bike. But I just had to try and keep my cool.
A mere equipment failure wasn't going to derail Georgia. Just 12 weeks ago, she was on crutches with a leg injury.
Walton with the punch in the last seconds.
Similar Olympic grit in the Taekwondo, with British hopeful Bianca Walton in the semi-finals of the women's 67 kg weight class, losing only in the final seconds.
Will she pick up the shot to the head there?
British hopes too in the tennis for another Olympian with yet another injury. Sir Andy Murray and doubles partner Joe Salisbury through to the quarter-finals of the men's doubles. Another glory day for Team GB, and it's not over yet. Sally Bidoff, ITV News.
Let's take a look at what today's results mean for the medals table. With 3 more medals for Team GB mean they hold on to the 5th position, just behind the USA, China, host Japan and the Russian Olympic Committee. Now, with a total of 10 medals, the best start to the Games in modern Olympic history for our team. Let's speak to the mum of one of those medalists now. Jackie Hughes is the mum of Tom Dean, and she joins me now alongside sister Connie. I can see both of you from the smiles on your face that your late night last night hasn't dented your enthusiasm or your joy today.
Yet. I think we're still on a bit of an adrenaline high. We slept about an hour. Mum didn't sleep at all. I got an hour in, and we're just, I know. You're so excited. You can't really sleep, can you?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need me to tell you, but I mean, it's not just Tom's victory. Whenever there is all the training that they have to go to, it's often the family that puts in a lot of effort as well, and particularly, I'm guessing, mum.
Yeah, swimming is one of those sports, and you have to just put in so many hours in the water, and you have to travel long distances for competition, and there's a lot of picking people up when they're disappointed, and making sure that they're well fed and well comforted and sleep enough, and so it draws on every bit of you as a parent, for sure.
And not just Tom, because I think Connie as well, you're not too bad in the pool yourself, I understand.
I was all right, me and Tom trained together for all our lives, really. I mean, Mum put us in the pool at 6 months, and we would do swimming lessons in London, and then we moved to Maidenhead and just got so lucky with Paul Lloyd, just like the most magnificent coach, and everything just fell into place. So, he's my training partner, so...
I mean, I don't need much of an excuse, but I'm going to play it again. I think we all want to see what you were doing early in the hours of this morning. Let's just take a quick watch. I mean, quite something. Look at you all there. You're jumping up and down. We're sorry for the blades of grass beneath your feet there. I mean, Jackie, I just want to ask you, because we've also spoken about Tom having COVID not once but twice in the last year. There must have been times when you thought that kind of celebration would never happen because of how he was impacted by COVID, couldn't even get up the stairs without coughing, he said.
Yeah, for sure. The second bout of COVID really knocked Tom for six. The first time he got it was really early on in the pandemic. And I would say it was just like having tonsillitis or a bad cold. But he was still out of the water for about 2 weeks, which is still a lot for a swimmer. But the second time, which was at Christmas, right in the middle of the hard block of training for the Olympic cycle, he was absolutely, blown away by it. He had no sense of smell, he couldn't taste anything, he couldn't control his heart rate, which meant he couldn't train. And he was, how am I going to, I've just waited another year for this, and it's blown a hole in my Olympic training plan. So that was really tough and a bit scary. And, he got back in the water and he put in the hours and he brought it back.
He certainly did. And listen, congratulations not just to him, but to the whole family. And I know that both Tom and Duncan are back in the pool next week. It's on Tuesday, so good luck with that. And we wish you well for the next few days. Thank you so much for joining us this lunchtime.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now, one other bit of Olympic news for you, and in the last few minutes, one of the game's biggest stars, Simone Biles, has retired injured as the American gymnast was competing in her team final. Moving on now, electric tags for those convicted of burglary and robbery is the headline measure, along with more use of stop and search in a new crime plan announced by the Prime Minister this morning. Boris Johnson and the Home Secretary also promise a named police officer for every victim of crime in England and Wales. But the Police Federation, which represents police officers, has said the plan is unworkable and called it a gimmick. Here's our political correspondent, Romilly Weeks.
The Prime Minister out of isolation and keen to look as though his government has a grip on priorities other than COVID.
The girls here from our kennel team, you do a fantastic job.
Law and order used to feel like home turf for the Tories, but the police dogs might have been giving the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary a warmer welcome than most officers today, with this plan to tackle crime being introduced in the midst of a bitter row with police over pay.
What we're announcing today is plans to back the police, but also to back the public, so that if you're the victim of a crime, you have a named police officer that you can go to wherever you live, who will attend you and who will make sure that the police deal with your crime.
As well as having named police officers, under the government's plan, burglars will be tracked via electronic tags after leaving prison. Offenders on probation will be expected to clean streets and pick up litter. Limits imposed on stop and search will be reversed in an attempt to tackle knife crime, and league tables will be introduced to compare forces 101 and 999 call answering times. This was an assault in Amit Puntambeka's shop in Cambridgeshire last year, the 6th incident he'd reported during the pandemic. He feels the police have no time to follow up on minor crimes.
I think they're too stretched, so they deprioritise us. But low-level crime has a real big impact, I think. Once people know they can get away with doing this to small business, you can see in especially more inner city areas, like in London, I've seen videos of retailers being attacked with machetes, weapons, and all of it starts from not addressing the first issue, low-level theft.
This afternoon, the Police Federation will deliver a petition to Downing Street accusing them of contempt for officers after their pay was frozen. Labour say police pay must be addressed first.
If we want to attract people in, look at the pay that they are currently receiving and get about the business of restoring their numbers, because we've weakened the thin blue line as it is over the past 11 years, and that needs to be reinvigorated, and there needs to be a better relationship between this government and police officers, and sadly that's on the floor at the moment.
The intention of the plan is to cut crime in England and Wales, with some crimes like domestic abuse and antisocial behaviour soaring during the pandemic. The public will be judging the government on the success of that. Romilly Weeks, ITV News.
To the pandemic now, and the Prime Minister has urged caution following a dramatic fall in the number of COVID cases, signalling the beginning of the end of this wave, potentially. Despite warnings that case numbers could rise to 100,000 per day, the latest figures have shown a drop for 6 consecutive days. Yesterday's cases stood at just under 25,000. Our health editor, Emily Morgan, is here. Now, Emily, some epidemiologists are saying, look, this could be the end of the third wave. Others disagree. Prime Minister urging caution. What's behind it all?
Well, look, there has been this real drop-off in cases in the last few days, which has flummoxed and surprised many scientists. They have put it down to a number of reasons, perhaps the weather being warmer, everyone being outside, the vaccine taking effect and schools breaking up. But this morning, Professor Neil Ferguson, he is the man who said that we could be seeing over 100,000 cases a day by now. He has said this morning that he's happy if that, he might be wrong, and has admitted that the vaccine has actually changed the course of this pandemic. He has also said that he hoped by October we may be looking back, having put the bulk of this pandemic behind us, which is pretty significant. But then he also said he can't be sure of that because we simply can't predict the behaviour of people in this country. And most importantly, we don't yet know the impact of lifting the restrictions yet. And that's the sort of note of caution that the Prime Minister also gave this morning.
We're 6 days into some better figures, but it is very, very important that we don't allow ourselves to run away with premature conclusions about this. The step 4 of the opening up only took place a few days ago. People have got to remain very cautious.
I think the point to make here is that making assumptions on just 6 days of data is just simply not sensible. It is not a trend yet, and without any kind of idea of, how and what sort of impact the lifting of restrictions has had, we simply don't know where we're going to be in the autumn. Things are looking good now, but of course, anything can change.
OK, good advice. Emily, thank you. Children who were in the care of Lambeth Council were subjected to levels of cruelty and sexual abuse that are hard to comprehend, according to a damning report. The independent inquiry into child sexual abuse examined the scale of the abuse at 5 homes dating back to the 1960s. It found that staff and councillors presided over a culture of cover-up that affected more than 700 children. The council has made an unreserved apology to all of the victims. Back to the Olympics now, and one of the sensations of these games has been Team GB's success in Taekwondo. Lauren Williams took silver in her debut in the 67 kg. The 22-year-old was leading, but with 10 seconds to go, she lost out to Croatia's Matija Jelic. We can speak now.
I was just trying to stay as calm as I could, keep applying my game plan. I had a plan, I went out there and executed it the best I could, and I just left everything out there on the mat. You know, I didn't once doubt myself. I was smiling the whole day, and I just had fun while I was doing it. And I'll look back on this day, remember it for the rest of my life. I truly did enjoy the experience, and I'm after that gold still.
Always important to hear from the athletes, but we can also talk to Team GB Taekwondo's Executive Director, Matt Archibald. I mean, Matt, how do you sum up the game so far?
Well, it's certainly been exhilarating. I would say that, very tense indeed as well.
Yes, tense because, you know, she was quite close, wasn't she? She was nearly there for the gold and picked up a silver, which we should congratulate her for, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, we've had two young fighters in Bradley and Lauren doing incredibly well on their debuts and getting silver medals, but both of them were tantalisingly close to that coveted gold medal. So a mixture of disappointment and elation, but I think the disappointment's wearing off now for those young fighters, and it's elation now. They've done brilliantly well, and we're extremely proud of them from their base in Manchester.
Now, I read this morning that Lauren Williams, who of course is a star of South Wales and now a star of the whole of the country, but she really took up the sport after watching it at the London Olympics in 2012.
That's correct. She famously was in a caravan with her mum watching Jade compete and was inspired by her compatriot going on and winning gold. She then considered switching from kickboxing to Taekwondo, and the kind of rest is history. Her mum actually moved the caravan up to Manchester so they could live within a stone's throw of our National Taekwondo Centre before she was 18, and she's been on the programme ever since. So she's been training hard with us for many years now, even though she's still a youngster, and she's done brilliantly well, and the support of her family at that crucial step was incredible. And indeed we're doing a similar campaign now, so for any 13 to 18-year-olds that think they can fight and think they've got the ingredients, they just need to go onto our social media at GB Taekwondo and they can register, and hopefully they'll have what it takes to win a medal in Paris, Los Angeles or maybe Brisbane.
And just quickly, Matt, what are your expectations for the future? Obviously the games have started off quite well for all sports, but for yours in particular?
Yeah, I mean, we brought a record team. We brought 5 athletes to Tokyo, and we're going home with 3 medals. Literally 30 seconds before I joined you, Bianca turned disappointment into at least a bronze medal. So she again failed to get through to the final in the dying second, but she pulled herself back up. Her teammates rallied round her. Coaches did a great job, and she's just won the bronze medal. So 3 medals out of 5 athletes is an excellent return. However, you know, we have 2 athletes going home pretty cross that they didn't medal, and the other 3 all wanted gold. So we're very ambitious. We've got a very strong team. We have 25 full-time athletes. We have 3 Paralympians going next month. Para-Taekwondo launches in Tokyo.
Matt, it's been a pleasure having you on the programme. We've got to end it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time. Thanks a lot.
Finally, all eyes are on the equine star looking to break records this lunchtime at Goodwood's opening day. ITV's racing, Ed Chamberlain is there, and he sent us this.
Well, welcome everyone to what is our Equine Olympics here on day 1 of the Goodwood Festival. We've had so much rain though, we almost need a Tom Dean or a Tom Daly to be performing. But we've got stars on show left, right and centre, and most importantly, as you can see behind me, we've got a crowd. You might remember last year they were meant to have a pilot here, which the rug got pulled from right at the last minute. It cost Goodwood about £100,000. What a contrast 12 months later. We've got a crowd of around 12,500 today, building to a maximum 25,000 on Saturday. We've got the style back that you associate with glorious Goodwood. We've got colour, we'll have noise. It promises to be very different from the ghost town that we had at the glorious meeting last year. What about the performers? Well, the headline act today, no doubt about it. It's Frankie Dettori and Stradivarius, who are going for a 5th Goodwood Cup and their piece of sporting history. But most importantly, Goodwood, as you can see, looks like Goodwood again.
Ed and the team are up next, but that's it from us. Whatever you're doing this afternoon, whether you're watching the racing or not, have a nice one. Bye-bye.